Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. All right. I will now call to order the City County Council meeting for Monday, January the 11th, 2021. And we will begin our meeting with the prayer and pledge of allegiance, led by Councilor Potts.
Thank you, Mr. President. With your permission, I'd love to invite Dr. Clyde Posley to share some opening words and a prayer with us this evening.
Please.
Thank you, Councilman. Good evening, everyone. And I'd like to wish each of you a happy and prosperous new year. As I think it goes without saying that we are walking among our most challenging times in the postmodern era for several reasons that I won't get into in this forum. But I want to say just before I pray, I believe that each of you is uniquely equipped to meet the challenges that face you today. I think that God is a providential God, and he puts us in places after preparing us for that space. Don't back down from the challenges that face you this year. Be sure that as you move forward, you keep in mind you are designed to have success in this particular form. It's not an accident. You were picked and carved out to do just what you're in a position to do. Don't look at the circumstance. Look at how powerful you are within, because real success doesn't just come from above. It comes from your belief in yourself as well. Let's bow our heads and go to God in prayer. Father, we thank you today for the privilege of being alive in challenging times. We recognize today that no real strength of character, no real intestinal fortitude, no real accomplishments whereby we can be proud of ourselves and our intimacy with you can take place without challenges in front of us. And so we stand boldly with our heads up and our shoulders squared, prepared to face the things that come our way, the cares that arise to our attention, the concerns, the deficits, the disparaging situations that arise in a metropolis such as ours. We prepare ourselves wholeheartedly for these challenges, knowing that we do not face them alone. We come to you today asking you for strength of character, endued courage, and a fresh commitment to care about someone beyond just ourselves. We ask you today that you bless us to be so keenly concerned and aware about the condition of our city and our fellow men and women, that the ontology of others become preeminent to our own. We trust you, and I speak blessings over the entire City County Council Board of 2021. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just so I'm clear, Mr. Potts, I can exit here, correct?
We thank you so much, sir.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Posley.
Thank you all. I bid you all adieu. Have a great meeting tonight.
Thank you so much. So we will get right into our meeting. I want to welcome everyone back and to wish everyone a happy new year, happy 2021. And let's start immediately. Madam Clerk, please conduct a voice roll call, and councilors, please signify by stating your name and answering present, following the clerk's reading of your name, so that we have a clear record of who is in attendance. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Adamson.
Councilor Adamson, present.
Councilor Ane.
Councilor Ane, present.
Councilor Bain.
Councilor Bain, present.
Councilor Barth.
Councilor Barth, present.
Councilor Boots.
Boots, present.
Counselor Brown,
Counselor Brown, present.
Counselor Carlino,
Counselor Carlino, present.
Counselor Dilk,
Counselor Dilk, present.
Counselor Ethan Evans,
Ethan Evans, present.
Counselor Jared Evans.
Present.
Thank you. Counselor Graves,
Counselor Graves, present.
Counselor Gray,
He was having problems logging in, so
okay. Thank you. Counselor Gray, Counselor Hart,
Counselor Hart, present.
Counselor Jackson,
Counselor Jackson, present.
Counselor Jones,
Counselor Jones, present.
Counselor Larison,
Counselor Larison, present.
Counselor Lewis,
Counselor Lewis, present.
Counselor Mascari,
Counselor Mascari, present.
Counselor McCormick,
Counselor McCormick, present.
Counselor Mowry,
Counselor Mowry, present.
Counselor Oliver, Counselor Oliver, Counselor Osley,
Counselor Osley, present.
Counselor Potts,
Counselor Potts, present.
Counselor Ray,
Counselor Ray, present.
Counselor Robinson.
Counselor Robinson, present.
Thank you, Mr. President. We currently have 23 counselors in attendance.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum. We have no guests this evening, so we will proceed to official communication. May I have consent to select General Counsel Choi Kim as temporary presiding officer over the election of officers?
Consent.
Consent.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first office for election is President of the Council for 2021. The chair will now entertain nominations for that position.
Council Kim, I would like to nominate Bob Osley for president of the council for 2021.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay. There's a nomination and second for President Osley. Yes, Councilor Robinson?
Thank you, Mr. General Counsel Kim. I'd like to close the nominations for president, please.
Second.
Sure.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and second to close nominations. If that motion is adopted, the effect will be to re-elect President Osley as President of the Council for 2021. So all those in favor of closing nominations, thereby re-electing President Osley, please signify by saying aye when the clerk calls your name. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay when the clerk calls your name. Madam Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you, Councilor Kim. Counselor Adamson,
Counselor Adamson, aye.
Counselor Ane,
Counselor Ane, aye.
Counselor Bain,
Counselor Bain, aye.
Counselor Barth,
Barth, aye.
Counselor Boots,
Boots, aye.
Counselor Brown,
Counselor Brown, aye.
Counselor Carlino,
Counselor Carlino, aye.
Counselor Dilk,
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Counselor Ethan Evans,
Counselor Ethan Evans, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans,
Counselor Jared Evans, aye.
Counselor Graves,
Counselor Graves, aye.
Counselor Gray, Counselor Hart,
Counselor Hart, aye.
thank you, Counselor Jackson,
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Counselor Jones,
Counselor Jones, aye.
Counselor Larison,
Counselor Larison, aye.
Counselor Lewis,
Counselor Lewis, aye.
Counselor Mascari,
Counselor Mascari, aye.
Counselor McCormick,
Counselor McCormick, aye.
Counselor Mowry,
Counselor Mallory, aye.
Counselor Oliver, Counselor Osily,
If I may, I will say aye.
Counselor Potts,
Counselor Potts, aye.
Counselor Ray,
Counselor Ray, aye.
Counselor Robinson,
Counselor Robinson, aye.
Counselor Gray. Oh, no, Counselor Gray. Counselor Oliver. Okay. Counselor Kim, we have 23 ayes. The vote is unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The ayes have it. Congratulations, President Osili.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
President, would you like to
Council
make any remarks?
I would, and I want to say, first of all, thank you to my colleagues for placing their confidence in me to continue as president of this council. I do not take this trust lightly, and I am grateful for the privilege to continue to serve as both the councilor and the council president. I look forward to working with all of you in 2021 to ensure that each of our city's residents have every opportunity to live safe, healthy, and prosperous lives. And I believe that all 25 members of this council are unified in our commitment to hard work over hype, with our determination to work together to improve the lives of all of our neighbors. I look forward to this next year in service together. And thank you, councilors.
The next office for election is Vice President of the Council for 2021. I will now entertain nominations for that position.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilor.
I move to nominate VP Adamson, Zach Adamson for Vice President.
Is there a second?
I second.
There's a nominate. Okay, there's a nomination second for Vice President Adamson. Are there any other nominations?
Close nominations.
Second.
Okay. Okay. There's a motion and second to close nominations. If the motion to close nominations is adopted, the effect will be to re-elect Vice President Adamson as Vice President of the Council for 2021. All those in favor of closing nominations, thereby re-electing Vice President Adamson, please signify by saying aye when the clerk calls your name. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay when the clerk calls your name. Madam Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you, Councilor Kim. Counselor Adamson,
Counselor Adamson, aye.
Counselor Ane,
Counselor Ane, aye.
Counselor Bain,
Counselor Bain, aye.
Counselor Barth,
Barth, aye.
Counselor Boots,
Boots, aye.
Counselor Brown,
Brown, aye.
Counselor Carlino,
Carlino, aye.
Counselor Dilk,
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Counselor Ethan Evans,
Counselor Ethan Evans, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans,
Counselor Jared Evans, aye.
Counselor Graves,
Counselor Graves, aye.
Counselor Gray, Counselor Hart,
Counselor Hart, aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Counselor Jones,
Counselor Jones, aye.
Counselor Larison,
Counselor Larison, aye.
Counselor Lewis,
Counselor Lewis, aye.
Counselor Mascari,
Counselor Mascari, aye.
Counselor McCormick,
Counselor McCormick, aye.
Counselor Mowry,
Counselor Mallory, aye.
Counselor Oliver, Counselor Osily,
Councilor Osili, aye.
Counselor Potts,
Counselor Potts, aye.
Counselor Ray,
Counselor Ray, aye.
Counselor Robinson,
Counselor Robinson, aye.
again, Counselor Gray, and Counselor Oliver, Council Kim, that leaves our vote to 23-0.
Thank you.
Sorry, that is unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The ayes have it. Congratulations, Vice President Adamson. Mr. Vice President, would you like to make any remarks?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Thank you, TK. Mr. President and fellow councilors. This past year has been an interesting year. We've seen a great deal of suffering, sickness and death, social justice awakenings, political unrest. Of course, we should have known that 2020 would not go quietly into the night, but rather kicking and screaming and refusing to let any of us move on. But through all of this, I've seen this body rise to the challenges put before us. And we've done this with a commitment and determination that has become the hallmark of this council. It has been my honor to serve with all of you this past year, and I look forward to continuing, as we have done, working beside you to do what we can to bring Indianapolis through the challenges of 2021. Thank you for your vote of confidence for Vice President, and thank you for your dedication to our great city. Thank you.
The final office for election is Clerk of the Council for 2021. I will now entertain nominations for that position.
Council,
Yes, Councilor Lewis.
I nominate Sarita Hughes, Clerk of the City County Council.
Second.
There's
Second.
a second? Okay. There's a nomination and second for Clerk Hughes. Are there any other nominations for that position?
I move that we close nominations, Madam Clerk, Madam Council.
That's fine. We have a motion and second to close nominations. So all those in favor of closing nominations, which would elect Clerk Hughes as Clerk of the Council for 2021, please signify by saying aye when I call your name. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay when I call your name. Councilor Adamson.
Councilor Adamson, aye.
Councilor Ane.
Councilor Ane, aye.
Councilor Bain.
Councilor Bain, aye.
Councilor Barth.
Barth, aye.
Councilor Boots.
Boots, aye.
Councilor Brown.
Counselor Brown, aye.
Councilor Carlino.
Counselor Carlino, aye.
Councilor Dilk.
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Councilor Ethan Evans.
Councilor Ethan Evans, aye.
Councilor Jared Evans.
Jared Evans, aye.
Councilor Keith Graves.
Counselor Graves, aye.
Councilor Monroe Gray. Councilor Monroe Gray. Councilor Hart.
Councilor Hart, aye.
Councilor Jackson.
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Councilor Jones.
Counselor Jones, aye.
Councilor Larison.
Councilor Larison, aye.
Councilor Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, aye.
Councilor Mascari.
Councilor Mascari, aye.
Councilor McCormick.
McCormick, aye.
Councilor Maury.
Councilor Mallory, aye.
Councilor Oliver. Councilor Oliver. Councilor Osili.
Councilor Osili, aye.
Councilor Potts.
Councilor Potts, aye.
Councilor Ray.
Councilor Ray, aye.
Councilor Robinson.
Councilor Robinson, aye.
The ayes have it. Congratulations, Madam Clerk. That completes the election of officers. I now relinquish the gavel to President Osili to proceed with the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Kim. The next item on our agenda is the certification of caucus leaders. Madam Clerk, have you received certification from the caucuses regarding their selection of caucus leaders?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes. I have received certification with signatures from the Majority Caucus electing Maggie Lewis as Majority Leader and from the Minority Caucus, electing Brian Mowry as Minority Leader.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is official communications. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, you are hereby notified that regular meetings of the City County Council and Police, Fire, and Solid Waste Collection Special Service District Councils will be held electronically and in the City County Building in the council chambers on Monday, January 11th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. The purposes of such meetings being to conduct any and all business that may properly come before regular meetings of the councils. Sincerely, Bob Osley, President, City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I have approved with my signature and delivered this day to the clerk of the City County Council, Sarita Hughes, the following ordinances. Fiscal ordinance numbers 30 through 33, 2020. General ordinance numbers 48 through 52, 2020. General resolution numbers 28 through 34, 2020. Special resolution numbers 23 through 26, 2020. Joseph H. Hogsett, Mayor. Mr. President, this concludes the official communications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I think I was remiss in not congratulating Council Vice President Adamson, Majority Leader Lewis, Minority Leader Mowry, and our very good Council Clerk on their re-election to leadership positions. It is an honor to serve with you. Thank you. So the next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to amend the agenda to advance proposal number 1, 2021, currently in the introduction of proposals, to the first item of business under special orders public hearing for action this evening. This time-sensitive funding for pandemic-related expenses that requires passage before the next full council meeting. And I so move.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Adamson.
Councilor Adamson, aye.
Councilor Ane.
Sarane, aye.
Councilor Bain.
Councilor Bain, aye.
Councilor Barth.
Barth, aye.
Councilor Boots.
Boots, aye.
Councilor Brown.
Brown, aye.
Councilor Carlino.
Councilor Carlino, aye.
Councilor Dilk.
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Councilor Ethan Evans.
Councilor Ethan Evans, aye.
Councilor Jared Evans.
Councilor Jared Evans, aye.
Councilor Graves.
Counselor Graves, aye.
Councilor Gray. Councilor Hart.
Before I give my vote, I just want to say that, the dollars that are being appropriated here specifically, that go out to help the homeless, I just want to urge the city administration to try and look at some different service providers and try a different approach. What we seem to be doing is not exactly getting us where we need to be. So I know there are a ton of organizations out there that are not getting the attention that they could be getting. And if we could start looking at some other organizations to help solve this, I would really urge the city to do that. With that, I'm an aye.
Thank you. Councilor Jackson.
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Councilor Jones.
Councilor Jones, aye.
Councilor Larison.
Councilor Larison, aye.
Councilor Lewis.
Lewis, aye.
Councilor Mascari.
Mascari, aye.
Councilor McCormick.
McCormick, aye.
Councilor Mowry.
Councilor Mowry, aye.
Councilor Oliver. Councilor Osley.
Councilor Osley, aye.
Councilor Potts.
Councilor Potts, aye.
Councilor Ray.
Councilor Ray, aye.
Councilor Robinson.
Councilor Robinson, aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. That will be 23, unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Proposal number 1, 2021 will be added to the agenda for action as the first item of the special orders public hearing. Do I have consent to adopt the agenda as amended?
Consent.
Consent.
Very good, thank you. The next item on our agenda is approval of journals for December the 7th, 2020. Do I have consent?
Consent.
Consent.
Thank you, councilors. We will now proceed to presentation of petitions, memorials, special resolutions, and council resolutions. Proposal number 17 honors the contributions and sacrifices of the city's frontline and essential healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic, including all medical practitioners and the clerical, janitorial, housekeeping, and medical support staff, upon whom our medical facilities have relied throughout the global pandemic. Who will be speaking on this evening? Is that Councilor Graves? Councilor Jackson?
Mr. President, thank you. I will be joined with several of my colleagues to respond to the resolution.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Thank you. So this resolution, this is a resolution honoring those contributions and sacrifices of the city's frontline essential healthcare workers during COVID-19 pandemic, including all medical practitioners, particularly the clerical, janitorial, housekeeping, and medical support staff, upon whom our medical facilities have relied throughout the global pandemic. Whereas COVID-19 is a generational event that has impacted every aspect of our country, and I'll ask my peers and colleague to join in as indicated.
And whereas the Indianapolis community has depended on our frontline and essential healthcare workers to keep our medical facilities open, to care for the nearly 70,000 Marion County residents who have been sickened by COVID-19, and whereas members of the Indianapolis healthcare community, which includes doctors, nurses, pharmacists, custodial staff, administrative staff, patient care assistants, public health officials, mental health professionals, researchers, lab technicians, and many others, has acted with excellence and professionalism to ensure that residents of this city receive the care they need. And
whereas doctors, nurses, pharmacists, home care and domestic workers, and other medical professionals have put themselves in harm's way to care for their patients, and whereas sanitation, custodial, janitorial, and cleaning service workers have played a critical role in protecting the health and safety of our communities and mitigating community spread of COVID-19, and
all right. Whereas these frontline and essential healthcare workers have risked their own health and safety, as well as the health and safety of their loved ones, to continue their work during the COVID-19 pandemic, at times without the complete protections that they need to minimize their own risk of exposure to COVID-19, and
whereas Kaiser Health Network is currently investigating nearly 1,500 healthcare worker deaths across the United States linked to COVID-19, including over 100 nurses and more than 60 support and cleaning staff. And whereas
the Kaiser team also reported that in some states, medical personnel account for as many as 20% of the known coronavirus cases. And whereas the Bureau of Labor Statistics recently reported that while Black people make up 11.9% of the US labor force overall, they represent 17% of all frontline workers and 27% of all licensed practical and licensed vocational nurses who provide the most direct hands-on care to COVID-19 patients. And whereas, Councilor Jackson.
And whereas the Center for Economic Policy Research reports that just over 40% of all frontline workers are Black, Hispanic, Asian American, Pacific Islander, or some category other than white, and that between 30 to 40% of frontline workers in home health care, skilled nursing facilities, and residential care facilities earn less than 200% of the federal poverty rate. And whereas this council has explicitly committed itself to dismantling inequities of race, place, and identity throughout Indianapolis and recognize racism as a public health crisis in our community. And now, therefore,
be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and Marion County, Indiana. The City County Council recognizes the commitment and contributions of all Indianapolis frontline and essential healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic.
The council further recognizes the immense debt of gratitude the city owes our frontline and essential healthcare workers for their heroic and selfless service during the COVID-19 pandemic. In witness thereof, the council encourages all residents, businesses, and community organizations to honor the sacrifices made by all those who have kept our health systems functioning during the pandemic.
Section 4, the council urges all Indianapolis residents to honor the service and sacrifice and protect the health of our city's frontline medical workers by adhering closely to COVID-19 precautions, including mask wearing, social distancing, frequent hand washing, and avoiding gatherings. Section 5, in honor of these workers and, in particular, the many Black and Brown workers who perform essential work in healthcare settings, this council publicly commits to continuing its work to end racial and social inequities for all minorities, LGBTQ citizens, and the very poor in Indianapolis.
Section 6, the mayor has been invited to join the resolution by affixing his signature here too. Section 7, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with IC 36-4-14. Mr. President, we so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, the motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors?
Mr. President.
Councilor Graves.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Just like to put an additional asterisk by some roles that were not specifically addressed that are absolutely in the healthcare realm that have put themselves and their families in direct harm for our stead. So thank you so much to direct support professionals, receptionists, and those medical transporters that transport those individuals that have fallen ill. They have all found themselves in harm's way as a result of their roles many times over during this pandemic, and I do not want to miss giving them the acknowledgement. And as of last count, midnight last night, that number that Councilor Carlino read should actually be 78,000. So it is a number that is continuing to grow. Mr. President, if you don't mind, I would love to have a visitor, Ms. Glenella Williams, just give us a couple of words on how this pandemic has impacted her life during this last year or so, if you would be so kind.
Very good, Councilor Graves, and welcome, Ms. Williams. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. I feel honored to be able to join you this evening. It gives me a great honor. And thank you so much for recognizing all that the first responders on the first line do. Because, you know, we don't think twice about putting our lives at risk to go and help someone who is in need. It has been a trying times, don't get me wrong, but also they're in worse shape than we are. So we have all of our proper PPE that we need to go and service them. Unfortunately, their loved ones can't even visit them. So when they see us in the hospital, you know, they applaud us for that. Some of them, more so than others, some are on their deathbeds and some are not. But it gives our staff a great honor to be able to serve them even in the midst of this storm, this pandemic storm that we're going through now. As I said, our staff don't think twice about it. You know, when we walk into the doors of the hospital, we know that we may not see our loved ones at the end of the day, but yet and still we press on to go on and serve the community because we are here to serve the vulnerable population of Marion County and the surrounding counties of Indianapolis, Indiana. It gives us a great sense of compassion, spirit, heart. You have to have the heart to be able to do what we do. If you don't have the heart to do it, you don't make it. You can't stop and say, no, I can't do this. I can't take this simply because of the fact that I'm risking my life. My family needs me. But it is what it is. We go and press forward and we do what we need to do. And in all of that, we have surpassed this pandemic. We're almost at that year. So I foresee that going forward with the vaccinations that have come about, we're going to press on and we're going to beat this thing. Yes, many lives have been taken, but there's still a lot of lives that are left to fight. We're going to continue this fight. So thank you so much for recognizing all of the first responders who are on the front line fighting this evil pandemic war. It's a war that we will win. We will not lose. So thank you so much for listening to me this evening and giving me the opportunity to speak to you. And thank you for all that you do as the City County Council of Marion County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
You're welcome.
Councilor Graves, any
Yeah,
additional comments?
Mr. President, finally, I want to obviously tell Ms. Williams, thank you so much for sharing that with us. You and your peers, those that work closely with you in our city to help those that have fallen victim of this pandemic, we want to say that you are our heroes. You have stepped up in a way that is unbelievable, and we thank you. So thank you so much, Mr. President. That is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor. If no additional comments from councilors, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. I think I have a councilor. I think I may have a councilor who wanted to say something I might have overlooked. Councilor Carlino.
Forgive me, Mr. President, and forgive me if I'm out of order, but I believe we do have, I just wanted to make sure all those speakers were given an opportunity to speak if someone didn't hop on the line. Just wanted to check with my colleagues. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for calling that to attention. Is there anyone else who wants to speak to proposal number 17, the special resolution? All right, not seeing anyone else, then we will return to all those in favor. Please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying nay. Very good, that motion carries. Thank you all for this very, very special resolution. And the next item on our agenda is proposal number 18, which recognizes the service and sacrifice of Indianapolis, Marion County law enforcement, firefighters, dispatchers, emergency medical technicians, and paramedics during the COVID-19 pandemic, and affirming support for the dedication of all Indianapolis public safety personnel. We'll be speaking on this evening. Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor and a distinction tonight to be joined by you, my colleagues on the council, to recognize those extraordinary individuals that you just mentioned. Again, joined by yourself, Minority Leader Mowry, Chairman Robinson, Councilors Ane, Barth, Boots, and Potts. Tonight, we rightfully recognize the service and the sacrifice of our public safety sector here in the city of Indianapolis and in Marion County. And now I will officially offer a resolution recognizing the service and sacrifice of those Indianapolis, Marion County law enforcement, firefighters, dispatchers, emergency medical technicians, and paramedics during the COVID-19 pandemic, and affirming the support for the dedication of all Indianapolis public safety personnel. Whereas the Marion County Sheriff's Department, the Indianapolis Fire Department, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, and the Indianapolis Emergency Medical Service all have histories dating back to the 19th century. And
whereas for 200 years, the sworn and civilian personnel of these agencies have worked to preserve the safety of the city of Indianapolis and its residents. And whereas for the second time in our city's history, the Marion County Sheriff's Department, the Indianapolis Fire Department, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, and the Indianapolis Emergency Medical Service have steadfastly continued their service to residents in the face of a deadly global pandemic. And
Okay, I'm on mute now, so I should put it up. I should unmute.
We can hear you, Councilor Gray. You're fine. Please go ahead.
Minority Leader Mallory, I believe there was a section dedicated for you. Would you like me to read it?
Sure, feel free. I'm trying to pull it up here. I'm just having an issue on mine and trying to get it to. I'm gonna go ahead. I don't want to delay it here.
Thank you, Leader Mallory. Whereas the earliest days of the COVID-19 pandemic, officers, deputies, firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics have worked to uphold their agency's mission despite the risk to their own health and safety, and whereas the health and safety of their loved ones. Whereas members of these agencies, including sworn and civilian personnel, have continued to work tirelessly to provide both lives and property protect both lives and property throughout Marion County during the COVID-19 pandemic, despite record numbers of emergency runs. And
whereas the Indianapolis Emergency Medical Service recorded 122,882 emergency calls in 2020, the highest number in agency history, and an average of more than 336 emergency runs per day. And
whereas the Indianapolis Emergency Medical Services did not hesitate in answering the call to provide the highest level of pre-hospital medical care to all citizens throughout this pandemic, as well as providing PPE and other supplies to help all agencies in Marion County safely respond to this pandemic, all while meeting the medical needs of all those experiencing a medical or traumatic emergency in 2020. And
whereas members of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department very quickly adapted their procedures to the changing circumstances created by COVID-19, issuing summonses instead of citations in order to protect public health, and helping to stand up COVID-19 testing sites with the Marion County Health Department. And
whereas throughout 2020, the Marion County Sheriff's Office took extraordinary measures to control COVID-19 infections in the Marion County Jail, and in recent months has maintained case counts far below the national average for correction facilities. And whereas Indianapolis firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics sprang quickly and boldly into action with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, instituting meticulous decontamination protocols for ambulances, fire trucks, firehouses, and medical equipment, and working to save lives while wearing heavy rubber PPE for up to 12 hours a time. And
whereas Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department and Indianapolis Fire Department performed their services while grieving the tragic deaths of Officer Breanne Leith and Engineer Matthew Bennett. And whereas all city-county first responders, including officers, deputies, dispatchers, firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics have bravely continued to meet the call of duty despite constant uncertainty about the risk of COVID-19 exposure for themselves, their colleagues, and their loved ones.
Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Indianapolis and Marion County that the Council recognizes the city's entire first responder community for the continual unseen acts of sacrifice and heroism in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic health crisis. The Council likewise commends the first responders in the cities of Beech Grove, Lawrence, Southport, the town of Speedway and Claremont, Indiana, and volunteer firefighters in Decatur, Franklin, and Wayne Township. This council expresses sincere condolences and solemn appreciation to the colleagues and loved ones of Officer Breanne Leith and Engineer Matthew Bennett. The council encourages all residents, businesses, and community organizations to recognize the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of our city's first responders and to safeguard the health of first responders by closely adhering to all recommended COVID-19 prevention measures. Number 5, the council expresses steadfast support for officers, deputies, dispatchers, firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics throughout our city and county and honors the sacrifices these first responders have made to protect our community. The mayor is invited to join this resolution by affixing his signature here too. This resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with Indiana Code 36-3-4-14. And Mr. President, I so move.
Second.
Very good. It's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Carlino.
I just want to apologize, Mr. President. Usually we do this around the podium and it's super cute and we point our little finger where we leave off. And I just want to apologize for the delay this evening. Several of my colleagues have been invited to participate in some of the special resolutions. So forgive me if I misdelegated some of those. Not to take away from the sacrifice that our men and women have given to our city on the front lines. It's not been an easy year. The aforementioned resolution just really is nothing short of inspiring from what these men and women do each and every day. And I would like to, with your permission, Mr. President, ask that we have someone from our IEMS team, Dr. Dan O'Donnell, if that's okay with you, sir.
Thank you very much, Councilor Carlino, and we welcome Dr. O'Donnell.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilor Carlino, as well as the rest of the City County Council. On behalf of first responders in Indianapolis, I'd like to thank the City County Council for this recognition. As you are all aware, a difficult year, not only for our citizens, but our first responders. This year has no doubt weighed heavy on all of us who serve this city, and we take this work on with an immense amount of pride. During the spring, thanks and recognition were very common. We had people banging pots and pans outside. We had fighter jets flying overhead. But as the year continued, these outward signs of appreciation have certainly dwindled. We appreciate this outward thanks by the council, and we greatly appreciate your continued support of our mission. While we are moving forward with this vaccine, and certainly there's a lot of hope, there's still much work to be done as we work our way out of this pandemic. So on behalf, again, of all the Indianapolis's first responders, we'll continue to answer the call and we'll work together to bring our community out of this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. O'Donnell. Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to ask to be added as a co-sponsor as I share regards for everything that was said in this special resolution and do give my regards and thanks to all the responders that are putting themselves at risk every single day. Thank you so much.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Chairman Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I received the information today. I too would like to be added as a co-sponsor. And thank you so much for the men and women who put their lives on the line for us every day. We appreciate you. So thank you so much.
Very good. Councilor Renee, I think your hand was up.
No, sir. But I'm very excited to be a co-sponsor.
Very good. Councilor Jared Evans.
Thank you, President Osley. I would also like to be added as a co-sponsor. I can't tell if I am or if I'm not. I said I would be, but as Councilor mentioned, there's quite a few of these. So I think some of them gotten mixed up. Thank you so much, and we greatly appreciate it.
Very good. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I just want to say thanks to all those first responders that are listed in the resolution. And I too would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Councilor McCormick.
Hi, thank you, Mr. President. Same along with Councilor Evans. I think I'm listed as a co-sponsor, but I just had to clarify and confirm. And thank you again, everybody, all of our first responders for taking the work on in our city. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Councilor Ethan Evans.
I also wanted to echo my colleagues' response. Thank you over the past year and everything they've had to deal with. And I'd also, if I'm not added on right now, I'd like to get on co-sponsor. I saw Evans, but it might have been Councilor Jared Evans, not the other. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there additional comments from councilors? All right, seeing none. And once again,
Councilor Gray.
Councilor Gray.
Yeah.
Sure, please go ahead.
I'd just like to send a special thank you out to all the first line responders. Having been a member of that team for 35 years, I can surely appreciate what they do and at the professional level which they perform. So I'd just like to say thank you to the first responders and for doing an excellent job.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right. Any opposed, signify by nay. All right, the motion carries. And Dr. O'Donnell, thank you and your colleagues and all of our law enforcement, firefighters, dispatchers, emergency medical technicians, and paramedics for the work that you have done. And your work is heralded, whether or not we're banging pots when you pass by or not. We are grateful. So thank you very, very much. All right, council colleagues, proposal number 19 recognizes the abiding commitment and contributions of Marion County preschool through 16 educational staff to the students and families of Indianapolis during the COVID-19 pandemic, and affirming support for the critically important work of the city's teachers. Who will be speaking on this evening?
Hello, Mr. President, Councilor McCormick. I'll speak on this along with some colleagues that are co-sponsoring.
Thank you very much, Councilor McCormick. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. It is an honor and privilege to present this resolution. Resolution recognizing the abiding commitment and contributions of Marion County preschool to 16 educational staff to students and families of Indianapolis during the COVID-19 pandemic, and affirming support for the critically important work of the city's teachers.
Whereas education professionals, including teachers, administrators, librarians, media specialists, school nurses and counselors, coaches, extracurricular program leaders, food service staff, bus drivers, custodians, and all school support personnel all help shape the minds, hearts, and futures of more than 200,000 Marion County students from preschool to post-secondary education. And whereas the work of Indianapolis educators from pre-K through college builds and enhances the civic, cultural, and economic well-being of our local community. And
whereas educators from preschool teachers to university professors impart the skills and knowledge that form the foundation of an educated and engaged citizenry that is critical to the healthy functioning of the American democracy. And whereas
the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic has caused multiple sudden closures of Indianapolis K-12 schools and unprecedented disruption in collegiate instruction. And
Whereas Marion County teachers at all levels of education transitioned virtually overnight from in-person to virtual instruction, many without the equipment and access needed to teach from home. And
whereas within days of the first closure of Marion County schools on March 16, 2020, hundreds of teachers prepared and delivered paper home learning packets to students whose families lack internet access and personal computers, and have continued to prepare and deliver these packets throughout the 2020 and 2021 year for school. And
Whereas hundreds of Indianapolis teachers and other education staff have worked countless hours to help ensure students have received not only academic instruction, but meals, school supplies, emotional support, and even clothing during the COVID-19 pandemic. And
whereas Marion County teachers have turned their own homes into virtual classrooms, often using their own computers, phones, and Wi-Fi connections, and have made themselves available to support students well outside the normal school hours. And
whereas upon their return to in-person instruction, teachers and other education staff, including custodians, librarians, bus drivers, and administrators, quickly adopted new safety plans, new cleaning protocols, new bus schedules, new bell schedules, and adjusted course offerings and syllabi. Whereas teachers and other education staff face a daily risk of COVID-19 exposure and constant concern over potentially exposing their own children and loved ones.
Whereas individuals have refrained from all manner of personal activities in an effort to avoid COVID-19 infection and keep schools going for the greater good of the children of Indianapolis, their parents, the broader community. And whereas pre-K to college level teachers, administrators, librarians, and media specialists, school nurses and counselors, coaches, extracurricular program leaders, food service staff, bus drivers, custodians, and support personnel have earned and deserve the respect of their students and communities for their selfless dedication to the futures of the students of Indianapolis. Now, therefore,
be it resolved by the Council of the City of Indianapolis and Marion County that Section 1, the council recognizes our city's debt of gratitude for the unquantifiable contributions of Marion County educators and school staff. Section 2, the council extends its appreciation to all those who work to sustain pre-K, K-12, and post-secondary education during the COVID-19 pandemic. Section 3, the council encourages all residents, businesses, and community organizations to honor the service of our city's educational staff during the COVID-19 pandemic and promote respect, appreciation, and understanding for their profession.
Section 4, the council further urges all citizens to protect the lives and health of our city's educators and school staff by closely adhering to all recommended COVID-19 prevention measures. Section 5, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature hereto. Section 6, the resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and in compliance with IC 36-3-4-14. And Mr. President, I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Very good. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to be a co-sponsor on this resolution this evening, not only as an educator, but as a city councilor. As a tenured educator, this has definitely been the most difficult year of my career. And I am honored this evening that we are joined by a local elementary school principal, education professional, and advocacy leader, Dr. Denisha Murph, is the elementary school principal of Westlake Elementary in District 15. And I would like to allow her to say a few words if we might be so privileged, President Osley.
Very good, Councilor Carlino. And welcome, Ms. Murph. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I just wanted to share that we all know that this has really challenged us and pushed us to think outside the box to serve our students and our families. And it's just been such an honor to know that the City County Council is recognizing all of our efforts. So we're just so proud of our students, staff, and families, and our community for everything they're doing to meet the challenges this pandemic has brought. Our students have worked diligently throughout this time to participate in these learning tasks, and our staff members have worked countless hours. They've worked tirelessly to provide meaningful and engaging lessons, whether they're in person or virtual opportunities. And we have been so impressed by the work being done by all of our educators. They have collaborated with our families and our caregivers to help them navigate these new technology tools. They've spent countless hours on the phone, texting, doing Google Meets and Zoom sessions with families so they understand how to use the tools, as well as our students. And then all of the members of our school community. They've worked so hard to ensure that our students have the devices as well as the connectivity that they need to participate in all of their daily activities. As an administrator and a parent, I have seen firsthand the endless efforts made to ensure all of our students have access to support in a variety of ways, including a clear focus on equity and social emotional learning. And so our community organizations, including our city county council members, they have rallied around us to ensure that the needs of our students and our staff and family members are met during this pandemic. So thank you for recognizing our hard work and dedication that has been put forth by all of the education professionals. It's an honor to share this on their behalf, but we are truly grateful for this recognition this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, councilors, are there additional comments? Chairwoman Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to be added as a co-sponsor. I think I got this late as well, so thank you.
Very good. Any additional comments? Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I just want to, show so much respect to the teachers and everything that they're going through. I know how difficult it is having, 2 children and seeing what they're doing and trying to keep them organized and keep everybody on task. And I see the delivery of meals and everything. I get all the notifications and just, I really empathize with the amount of work that they're putting in to maintain, the best level of service to provide to our children. And want to thank them for now welcoming them back to the schools this week, to put themselves at risk. So, I too would like to be, a co-sponsor and just give so much love and thanks to our teachers. Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
I would like to echo Councilor Hart's statement as a parent, and what took one Zoom with a whole bunch of preschoolers on there to think that I never appreciated teachers enough. So I would love to be added as a co-sponsor and express my deep debt of gratitude to all of our teachers and for all of the changes they've had to make this year, for everything they've done for us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional comments from councilors? All right. Not seeing any, then all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Right. Any opposed, signify by nay. All right, seeing none, the motion carries. Thank you, councilors. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 20, which recognizes the 2020 Roncalli High School football team for winning the 4A state championship. Sorry, I think I just jumped over one. Proposal number 25. Let's start this again. Commemorates the founding of the city of Indianapolis on January the 6th, 1821, and celebrates its 200-year history with bicentennial events through the month of May. I believe, who will be speaking on this? Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Special resolution number 25, 2021. Special resolution commemorating the founding of the city of Indianapolis on January 6th, 1821, and celebrating its 200-year history with bicentennial events through the month of May. Whereas the history of Indianapolis can be traced back to the summer of 1820, with dozens of families built their cabins along the riverbank in the settlements named Fall Creek. Commissioners handpicked by Indiana legislature were mandated to locate the new capital as near as possible to the center of the state to take advantage of Western migration. On January 6th, 1821, the legislature approved the site as the capital of the state and the name Indianapolis was chosen as a combination of Indiana plus the Greek word polis for city. And whereas since its establishment, Indianapolis has been shaped to reflect the growing population of the city, in 1838, Indianapolis was incorporated with a new charter that provided a town council with taxing, licensing, and its own legislative powers. Over 100 years later, on January 1st, 1970, the city and county government were structured and consolidated into a new entity called Unigov, expanding the city land by over 300 square miles and increasing its population. And if anybody else wants to, Mr. President, I know you co-sponsored this as well. I don't want to take up all of it. If you want to read some.
No, go right ahead. I don't have a document in front of me. You're doing a great job. So thank you.
Yeah. Whereas in 2018, in preparation of the celebration of Indianapolis's 200-year history, Mayor Joe Hogsett announced the formation of a 9-member bipartisan Indianapolis Bicentennial Commission to oversee the planning, programming, and initiatives surrounding the bicentennial celebration. The commission, which includes former mayors Bart Peterson and Greg Ballard to serve as honorary co-chairs, was also tasked with engaging community organizations, neighborhood groups, nonprofits, and more to help raise funds for city events and projects tied to the bicentennial. The bicentennial events to celebrate the city's history began in June 2020 and will carry through May of this year. To date, the commission has used this time to reflect on our city's unique and ever-evolving history in the face of a global pandemic. And whereas, like other major Indianapolis milestones, the bicentennial will seek to be inclusive of the rich diversity of our city, incorporating the best of Indianapolis's arts, culture, civics, education, and more. It is important to look back at where we started to see how far we've come as a city. I am proud of all that has been accomplished over the last 200 years to make Indianapolis the first-class city it is today. And I am excited about the vision of the city's leaders to continue the great tradition, promoting unity, diversity, and economic stability to provide an even greater place for its citizens to live and work in the next 200 years, said Council President Bob Osley and Minority Leader Brian Mowry. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and Marion County, Section 1, the City County Council celebrates the 200-year anniversary of Indianapolis's founding on January 6, 1821. The council joins the Indianapolis Bicentennial Commission to celebrate the city's 200-year history and rich diversity with special events to be held through the month of May. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature hereto. Section 4, the resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption in compliance with IC 36-3-4-14. And I so move.
And I will second. Are there comments from councilors? Proposal 25. All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying nay. Very good, that motion carries. And thank you, Leader Mowry. Proposal number 20 recognizes the 2020 Roncalli High School football team for winning the 4A state championship. Who will be speaking on this evening?
I will, Mr. President, but I do want to thank Councilor Dilk for sponsoring this one.
Very good. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a proposal, a special resolution 20, a special resolution recognizing the Roncalli High School football team as the IHSAA Class 4A football state championship. Whereas Roncalli won the 4A state championship at the IHSAA football state finals, Lucas Oil Stadium, November 27th, 2020. This is the 10th time in 13 tries Roncalli is an Indiana high school football champ. And whereas Roncalli triumphed over Hobart High School with a final score of 49-7, and were led by quarterback Aiden Leffler with 5 touchdowns. Leffler tied the Class 4A state championship record for touchdown passes, completing 12 of 16 for 200 yards. And whereas not only was Leffler laser focused, so was Kyle Lockhart, who tied the 4A record for catches shared by Warren Central's Lance Sheep and New Palestine's Duke Blackwell. And whereas over the years, Roncalli has won many championship games. These games include 10 state championships, 13 semi-state championships, 16 regional championships, and 21 sectional championships. And whereas the team is led by head coach John Rodenberg, who came over to Roncalli from Lawrence Central in late February of 2020. He has 26 years of varsity head coaching experience, with the bulk coming in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. Coach Rodenberg has won his 4th state championship in a 3rd state and was the 2020 4A Coach of the Year. Whereas Roncalli's slogan, Win Title 10, had meaning, as Roncalli became the 4th Indiana school to win 10 state football championships, joining only Chittard Cathedral and Fort Wayne Bishop Luers. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana, Section 1, the Indianapolis City County Council recognizes the 2020 Roncalli High School football team for winning the Class 4A state championship. Section 2, the council extends its congratulations to the team on their achievement and wishes them success in future endeavors, both athletically and academically. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature hereto. Section 4, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with IC 36-3-4-14. And Mr. President, I so move.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Excellent. Comments from councilors? Councilor Nay.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's just a great honor to have an opportunity to recognize my alma mater, Roncalli, on a great achievement, being only one of 4 schools in the state of Indiana to win 10 or more state football championships. It was a great game, and I just can't express how great to see student athletes really taking the adversity they faced in a pandemic year and taking that all the way to Lawrence Oil Stadium on the weekend of Thanksgiving. And I myself rooting the team on. I had 2 younger cousins on the team. One had a 92-yard kickoff return touchdown. So it was just a great opportunity. And the South Side got some great football this year. And with that, Mr. President, I believe that Roncalli Athletic Director David Lauk has joined us this evening. And if he would be able to say a few words, Mr. President, I'd appreciate it.
Very good, Councilor Nay. Mr. Lauk, welcome.
Thanks for having me. First, thanks for moving me on the agenda so I can get home and watch a national championship football game. But honestly, first, congrats to the newly elected council officers, and also thanks for the wonderful dialogue earlier about our educators and the unprecedented challenges of the last year that they've gone through. Thanks for that. On behalf of Roncalli High School and Principal Chuck Weisenbach, our head coach John Rodenberg, our student athletes, thank you for the special recognition. And special thanks to Councilor Paulinet for putting this resolution together. Bless all of you in your efforts.
Thank you very much, sir. Additional comments from councilors? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Signify by nay. That motion carries. Thank you, councilors. Proposal number 22 recognizes the Covenant Christian High School football team as the IHSA Class A football state champions. Who will be speaking on this evening?
This is Andy Goodwin. Oh, sorry.
Forgive me, Mr. President. I believe you skipped over proposal 21.
It's not on the agenda.
Mr. President, I can explain, if I may.
Forgive me, I may have had an old agenda.
Okay. Councilor Ethan Evans, I think I heard your voice.
Sorry, yes. I had a phone call with some of the guests that were supposed to be here for proposal 21, and they couldn't make it today. the last minute, so we asked the clerk and the officials to pull the proposal before tonight. So it'll be up next time, and the guests for the proposal will be able to make it.
All right, very good. Thank you for the explanation, Councilor Evans. So who will be speaking on proposal number 22 regarding Covenant Christian High School football team?
That would be me, Mr. President. Forgive my interruption.
No problem.
Proposal number
Go ahead.
22 recognizes Covenant Christian High School. They are the home of the Warriors, and they are newly crowned, first time ever, Class A football state champs. And we are joined by CEO and Principal Goodwin, but I did want to read, along with some of my Westside colleagues, a special resolution in their honor. At this time, I formally offer a special resolution recognizing the Covenant Christian High School football team as IHSAA Class A football state champions. And whereas Covenant Christian High School football team won the state championship, making this their first state championship in any sport. And whereas the Warriors defeated South Adams High School on November 28th, 2020 in a thrilling game where they came out on top 41-40. And whereas the Warriors overcame a 21-point lead in the second half, proving themselves great athletes who were able to work together as a team to accomplish an incredible feat. And whereas the Warriors marched into victory with team members Micah Wilson, Austin Frazier, Jackson Bro, Brad Nardi, Tony Flatt, Brian Lomax, Gavin Tyndall, Trey Flatt, Carter Bell, Adrian Terry, Luke Munoz, Benjamin Malik, Nolan Jones, Gage Coffey, Jay Wright, John Neighbors, Alex Coleman, Kaylin Van Kuren, Will Lyons, Burke Wilhelmus, Caleb Probst, R.L. Weichart, Zachary Wright, Jerron McDuffie, Reed Schreiner, Austin Cooper, Wyatt Bowman, Ethan Sparks, Matt Abernathy, Cole Thomas, Timmy Adelekan, Jeff Foster, Ryan Rafite, Eli Carlson, Ty Gossel, Daniel Shin, Ryan Kronster, and now therefore
Be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana. Section 1, the Indianapolis City County Council proudly recognizes the Covenant Christian High School boys football team as the ISHAA Class A football state champions.
Section 2, the council congratulates the players, coaches, and staff on a successful season and wishes them continued success in all their future endeavors, both collectively and individually. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature hereto. Section 4, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with IC 36-3-4-14. Mr. President, we so move.
Second.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors?
Yes, Mr. President, I would be remiss before allowing President Goodwin to speak. I don't know if Councilor Jared Evans was able to hop back on, but my sort of Ben Davis brother, who we love Ben Davis football and Westside football probably more than anyone on this council, and we just cannot commend and welcome the Covenant Christian Warriors to this outstanding class of Westside athletes. And with that, I'd like to welcome Mr. Goodwin to speak and sort of celebrate with us virtually. We wish we could have you here in the chamber this evening.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor Carlino. Mr. Goodwin, welcome.
And also, council members, thank you so much for having me. We are overjoyed to be a part of what is happening in Indianapolis, all the positive things, and some of our proudest moments were, of course, the come from behind victory and to be able to have a full season at all during the pandemic is a really big deal, especially for what happened to our spring athletes and their seasons being snuffed out unavoidably. But this was a really nice culmination, kind of a return for those athletes who are multi-sport athletes, most of them. But our favorite part of the whole thing was after the game, when our players from both sides, were comforting one another, speaking with one another. They would have been justified to not to just be in victory.
Councilor Carlino, we may have lost Mr. Goodwin. Would you like to finish off for him?
Yeah, I think he was leading down the path of, they had every right to sort of celebrate their victory, but they came together as athletes, as student athletes, as colleagues, like we do here on the council. And I think like we do across all these front lines that we've honored this evening as well. And maybe if only for a little bit, and even many of us tonight are looking forward to a national college championship game. Sports are that positive line. So thank you, Mr. President, for allowing us some time tonight to recognize our local student athletes, coaches. Those co-curriculars are critical to our education systems. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there additional comments on proposal number 22? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by nay. Motion carries. Thank you, councilors. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 23, which recognizes Rebecca Doherty Saunders for being named the 2020 District 7 Principal of the Year. Who will be speaking on this evening?
It's myself again, Mr. President.
All right, very good. Please go ahead.
This one is a special one. This is a very special District 7 Indiana High School Principal of the Year. District 7 is encompassed here in Marion County. And tonight we are honored to honor Rebecca Doherty Sanders. And I will begin by offering the formal special resolution along with my colleagues, Councilor Jones, Councilor Jared Evans, and Councilor McCormick. A special resolution recognizing Rebecca Doherty Sanders, whereas Rebecca Doherty Sanders has been named the 2020 District 7 Principal of the Year.
Whereas Rebecca began her teaching career in 1998, changing the lives of many students through the course of the years. And whereas in 2006, Rebecca became the assistant principal and later principal of the Ben Davis 9th Grade Center. And in 2013, she became principal of Ben Davis University High School. And
whereas Rebecca has initiated programs such as peer tutoring, which allows students to gain authentic leadership opportunities. One of her many accomplishments has been increasing associate degree graduation rates from 35% to 99%. Whereas through the course of her career, Rebecca has continued her education by earning a master's degree from Ball State University and an educational specialist degree. She is currently pursuing her PhD in educational supervision and higher education leadership at Indiana State University. And whereas Rebecca Doherty Sanders was recognized as District 7's High School, District 7's High School of the Year teacher by Indiana Association of Principals. Now, therefore,
be it resolved by the Indianapolis City County Council and the City of Indianapolis, Section 1, the City County Council recognizes the accomplishments and contributions of Rebecca Doherty Sanders. The council extends its appreciation and gratitude to Ms. Doherty Sanders and wishes her continued success in future endeavors. The mayor is invited to join this resolution by affixing his signature here too, and this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with Indiana Code 36-3-4 14. And Mr. President, we so move.
Second.
All right, motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Carlino, please go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. President. Again, it's not very often that you get an opportunity to recognize one of your mentors, one of your colleagues. The principal and I both came into the current school that we're in at the same time. And so I've been blessed with her leadership for several years. I think we're in year 8 now. But she is someone who's truly not only dedicated her career, but also her life. She's a working mother and she truly inspires me each and every day. I've seen her remove barriers from students on the west side of Indianapolis so that not only can they be the first in their family to graduate from high school, but many of them to graduate with associate's degrees before they even walk across the high school stage. It's truly incredible and noteworthy. And this Principal of the Year recognition is well deserved. And I'd like to welcome Principal Doherty Sanders to speak a little bit about her service to our community if there's time.
Very good. Ms. Doherty Sanders, welcome.
Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment to thank the entire City County Council representatives for all of your hard work. I mean, watching the meeting this evening, obviously, you know, all of your efforts and attention upon so many people who are so deserving. But I do want to just say that my recognition is really not for me. My recognition is truly for my staff, my students, and my families at Ben Davis University High School. It is my honor and privilege to serve as their principal, but really I'm just a member of the team. And the team is really an awesome team that provides an opportunity to these kids to earn their college degree when they wouldn't normally even go to college. If you don't know anything about BDU, we've had 100% graduation for the last 10 years. And then this past year, we had all but one of our graduating seniors earn their full associate's degree. And the one that didn't earn it was only 3 credit hours short. And all of those are transferable credits. So, and then we had all but one also earn an academic and technical honors diploma, which I'm sure you're aware, you know, that's a pretty big deal. So our students are just so successful, but it's solely because of the efforts that the staff puts in and then the efforts of those students because they want to be different and they want to earn that college degree. And all of this, by the way, is free to those students. So that's the best part is they graduate debt-free with their first college degree. So I just want to thank you for the recognition. It has been an honor to be recognized as this District 7 Principal of the Year. I've been honored so many times, I can't even count. And today my staff sent me a wonderful bouquet of fruit. That was just like another recognition. But to be honest, it's really just a reflection of the hard work of the educators at my school. And I love that you honored educators tonight because that really means a lot to me. Ms. Carlino happens to serve as our media specialist and a leader at our school. And she, just like many others, they're just very passionate about, you know, serving underserved youth. And that is definitely what we do at BDU. So thank you again for the opportunity. And I really appreciate the recognition.
Thank you very much and welcome. Councilor Carlino, any additional comments?
Just thank you for the opportunity and valuing our profession, and thank you for the opportunity to lead both in this year, President Osley, and to you, Principal Doherty Sanders. Thank you for allowing young leaders like myself, maybe young, even if only for one more year, to have a seat at the table. So thank you all, and I digress to the next proposal, which I'll be talking on again, if you'll allow me to.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Very good. Any opposed, signify by nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Doherty Sanders, and welcome. And thank you, Councilor Carlino. The next item on the agenda is proposal number 24, which recognizes Dr. Denisha Murph for being named the 2020 Indiana Elementary School Principal of the Year. Who will be speaking on that this evening? Would that happen to be Councilor Carlino?
What's behind door number one? Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm so sorry, but I'm not sorry, because in the MSD of Wayne Township, we are also home to the Indiana State Elementary Principal of the Year. And we heard from her earlier speak on our special resolutions honoring our educators. And she's an author. She's outstanding. She's a mentor. She's one of the girls. She's a mom. She's everything. And honestly, leaders like Dr. Denisha Murph are what are pulling our education system through this pandemic that we're in. And so let me please formally offer a special resolution recognizing Dr. Denisha Murph. She has been named the 2020 Indiana Elementary Principal of the Year, whereas Denisha began her career, pardon me, Councilor Jones.
It's okay. Whereas Denisha began her teaching career in 1999 after earning her Bachelor of Science degree in Early Childhood Education and Kindergarten Primary Education, as well as her Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education from Ball State University. And whereas in 2002, Denisha became Assistant Principal at North Wayne Elementary School. And in 2007, she became Principal of Westlake Elementary School. And
whereas Denisha's achievements include the equity audit conducted in 2014 to plan professional learning activities and address each individual's student needs and data. And whereas throughout the course of her career, Denisha has continued her education by earning a Master's of Science degree from Indiana Wesleyan University and an educational administration licensure at Indiana University. In 2017, Denisha completed her work on her PhD in educational leadership through Purdue University. Whereas Dr. Denisha Murph was recognized as the 2020 Indiana Elementary School Principal of the Year by the Indiana Association of School Principals and will represent Indiana at the National Association of Elementary School Principals National Distinguished Principal Recognition Program. Now, therefore,
be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana. Section 1, the City County Council recognizes the accomplishments and contributions of Dr. Denisha Murph. Section 2, the council extends its appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Murph and wishes her continued success in future endeavors. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature hereto. Section 4, the resolution shall be in full force and effect upon an adoption and compliance with Indiana Code 36-3-4-14. Mr. President, we so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Other comments from councilors?
Thank you, Mr. President. Co-sponsoring this, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Councilor McCormick. Westlake Elementary is in her district, and I don't want to hog it all, but I do want to ask Dr. Murph, if you get a chance to speak, tell us, please, what we need to do to provide leaders like you with the tools necessary to move gains.
Hi, Mr. President, thank you for allowing us to do this. Dr. Murph, I would love for you to say a few words. I just want to say thank you. So exciting to have wonderful people in our county, in our city, but it's extra special when they get to be in our own district. So I'm super excited to have this be a co-sponsor with Carlino and Jones and Evans. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Murph, want to say a few words?
Sure. I just want to thank you. It's truly an honor to receive this recognition and to be acknowledged in this special way. This award is a prestigious award that I am truly grateful for. I get to work with amazing colleagues in my district and even around the state who do extraordinary things for our students, our staff, our family, and our greater school community. And so the opportunity to receive this honor is truly a blessing. I always say I would thank the Lord, thank my husband, my children, because they also are supporting me around this journey. Anyone who's an educator knows that being a part of a child's education is one of the most important endeavors that can ever be taken. Each child represents our future, one that's filled with hopes and dreams and possibilities for a better world. It is my true, unyielding belief that it's our moral imperative to create equitable educational opportunities for all students so they have the opportunity to reach their goals. And being a school leader has allowed me to be a part of something greater than myself. I've been able to impact so many lives over the years, thousands and thousands of students. And what's most important to me is the impact that they have had on me. So thank you for that. I know it was mentioned about our needs and what do we need to do to go to the next level. For us, for our needs, we just ask that everyone looks at the plethora of initiatives that are given to schools every year and how things continue to be added to that plate. Help our educators to see that their voices are heard, that we are asked about best practices. Take the time to visit schools and get that firsthand look at what is taking place. Embrace the work and give us feedback, but more importantly, help us to find those ways to build true community partnerships, because we have to prioritize our focus. And with everything going on in the world today, I believe it is vital that we make diversity, equity, inclusion, and culturally responsive practices the expectation for all teaching and learning environments. We need your support as we help our students, as we help them to become equipped to live and work in a global society. Help us and come alongside of us as we look to give them the best educational opportunities possible and allow them to bring their most authentic self to the schoolhouse every single day, to bring their lived experiences into our schoolhouses. And that can only be done if we have the support of our entire community. So if those are things that, education is dear to everyone's heart, but it gets a little complicated when you have to actually get into the weeds. And so we just ask for your support with that as we help our children to see the type of world that we want to create so that they have a better opportunity in the future. So again, thank you for this award. It is an honor to be the Indiana Elementary Principal of the Year for the entire state. And I am so grateful for this recognition this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Murph. I'm very glad that you joined us this evening. And congratulations. Councilor Carlino, or any of the other councilors, did we have any additional comments? All right, seeing none, then all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, any opposed, signify by nay. All right, very good. The motion carries. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 16, which amends the schedule of regular council meetings for the year 2021. Who will be speaking on this evening? I believe it's Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. This proposal is only we have to change the date for our October meeting due to the approval of our new calendar with our holiday schedule. So we originally had our October meeting scheduled for October 11, 2021, but because that falls on Indigenous Peoples Day, which is now a city-county holiday, we will need to move it to the following Monday, which is October 18th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, the motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there any comments from councilors? All right, very good. Seeing none, I will ask Madam Clerk, please, for a roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Adamson.
Councilor Adamson, aye.
Councilor Ane.
Councilor Ane, aye.
Councilor Bain. Councilor Bain.
Councilor Bain, aye.
Thank you. Councilor Barth.
Barth, aye.
Councilor Boots.
Boots, aye.
Councilor Brown.
Councilor Brown, aye.
Councilor Carlino.
Councilor Carlino, aye.
Councilor Dilk. Counselor Dilk.
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Thank you. Counselor Ethan Evans.
Counselor Ethan
Counselor
Evans.
Dilk, aye.
Thank you, Counselor Dilk. Thank you, Counselor Ethan Evans. Counselor Jared Evans. Counselor Jared Evans. Counselor Graves.
Counselor Graves, aye.
Counselor Gray.
Counselor Gray, aye.
Counselor Hart.
Counselor Hart, aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Counselor Jones.
Counselor Jones, aye.
Counselor Larison.
Counselor Larison, aye.
Counselor Lewis.
Lewis, aye.
Counselor Mascari.
Counselor Mascari, aye.
Counselor McCormick.
Counselor McCormick, aye.
Counselor Mowry.
Counselor Mowry, aye.
Thank you. Counselor Oliver.
Aye.
Thank you. Counselor Osley.
Counselor Osley, aye.
Counselor Potts.
Counselor Potts, aye.
Counselor Ray.
Counselor Ray, aye.
Counselor Robinson.
Counselor Robinson, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans. President Osley, the vote is 24-0.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. As we go forward, I would ask all the chairs who are going to be speaking to any of these proposals that they combine as many of the proposals that were done unanimously, that were voted on unanimously. We may be able to combine those. So the next item on the agenda is proposal number 363, referred to admin and finance.
Thank you, President. I'd like to, with consent, combine 63, 64, 65, and 60 together.
Consent.
Consent.
Consent. Thank you.
December 8, 2020, we met with Admin and Finance to reappoint Maida Eldridge, Julie Voorhees, Sheriff Kerry Forstall, and Holly Harrington to the Information Technology Board. All passed at the best 11-0. I so move.
Second.
All right, motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there any comments from councilors? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Counselor Adamson.
Counselor Adamson, aye.
Counselor Ane.
Ane, aye.
Counselor Bain.
Counselor Bain, aye.
Counselor Barth.
Barth, aye.
Counselor Boots.
Boots, aye.
Counselor Brown.
Brown, aye.
Counselor Carlino.
Counselor Carlino, aye.
Counselor Dilk.
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Counselor Ethan Evans.
Ethan Evans, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans. I think we lost Counselor Jared Evans. Counselor Graves.
Counselor Graves, aye.
Counselor Gray.
Counselor Gray, aye.
Counselor Hart.
Counselor Hart, aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Counselor Jones.
Counselor Jones, aye.
Counselor Larison.
Counselor Larison, aye.
Counselor Lewis.
Counselor Lewis, aye.
Counselor Mascari.
Counselor Mascari, aye.
Counselor McCormick.
McCormick, aye.
Counselor Mowry.
Mowry, aye.
Counselor Oliver.
Counselor Oliver, aye.
Thank you. Counselor Osley.
Counselor Osley, aye.
Counselor Potts.
Counselor Potts, aye.
Counselor Ray.
Counselor Ray, aye.
Counselor Robinson.
Counselor Robinson, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans. Mr. President, that makes 24-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. So proposal number 369 referred to Community Affairs Committee. Chairwoman Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 369, 2020 reappoints Amy Carroll to the Public Art of Neighborhood Selection Committee. The Community Affairs met on December 7, 2020. Ms. Carroll said that she enjoyed her previous term on the selection committee. She's a professional artist for over 20 years and very active in the Speedway Arts Council, and she looks forward to serving again. Mr. President, I so move. Pass out of committee, do pass 8-0, Mr. President, I so move.
Second.
All right, the motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there any comments from councilors? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Counselor Adamson.
Counselor Adamson, aye.
Counselor Arnay.
Counselor Arnay, aye.
Counselor Bain.
Counselor Bain, aye.
Counselor Barth.
Barth, aye.
Counselor Boots.
Boots, aye.
Counselor Brown.
Brown, aye.
Counselor Carlino.
Carlino, aye.
Counselor Dilk.
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Thank you. Counselor Ethan Evans.
Counselor Ethan Evans, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans. Counselor Graves.
Counselor Graves, aye.
Counselor Gray.
Counselor Gray, aye.
Counselor Hart.
Counselor Hart, aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Counselor Jones.
Counselor Jones, aye.
Counselor Larison.
Counselor Larison, aye.
Counselor Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, aye.
Counselor Mascari.
Councilor Mascari, aye.
Counselor McCormick.
McCormick, aye.
Counselor Mowry.
Counselor Mallory, aye.
Counselor Oliver.
Counselor Oliver, aye.
Thank you. Counselor Osley.
Counselor Osley, aye.
Counselor Potts.
Counselor Potts, aye.
Counselor Ray.
Counselor Ray, aye.
Counselor Robinson.
Counselor Robinson, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans. Mr. President, the vote is 24-0.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is introduction of proposals. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 1, 2021, introduced by Counselor Osley, referred to the Committee of the Whole, approves an additional appropriation totaling $12,916,000 in the 2021 City non-departmental budget, Consolidated County General Fund to fund response efforts addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, including public health measures related to housing for homeless individuals and programs to combat the secondary economic effects of the pandemic faced by Marion County residents, businesses, and nonprofits. Proposal numbers 2 through 4 referred to the Administration and Finance Committee and were introduced by Counselor Mascari. Proposal number 2 approves the mayor's appointment of Taylor Schaefer as the Chief Deputy Mayor. Proposal number 3 approves the mayor's appointment of Jeff Bennett as Deputy Mayor for Community Development. Proposal number 4 approves the mayor's appointment of Hope Tribble as the Director of the Office of Audit and Performance. Proposal numbers 5 through 11 refer to the Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Proposal number 5, introduced by Councilor Lewis, approves the mayor's appointment of Brian D. Madison as the Director of the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services. Proposal number 6, introduced by Councilor Adamson, appoints Charlie Neal to the Woodruff, reappoints Charlie Neal to the Woodruff Place Economic Improvement Board. Proposal number 7, introduced by Counselor Adamson, appoints Kristen Abbott to the Woodruff Place Economic Improvement Board. Proposal number 8, introduced by Counselor Adamson, appoints Kaylin Ellis to the Woodruff Place Economic Improvement Board. Proposal number 9, introduced by Counselor Adamson, appoints Hannah Saunders to the Woodruff Place Economic Improvement Board. Proposal number 10, introduced by Counselor Evans, approves the statement of benefits of VKY Investments LLC, an applicant for tax abatement for property located in an economic revitalization area. Proposal number 11, introduced by Counselor Larison, amends chapter 226, Article 5 of the Code regarding the Division of Animal Care and Control. Proposal number 12, introduced by Counselor Oliver, referred to the Parks and Recreation Committee, approves the mayor's appointment of Linda Broadfoot as the Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation. Proposal numbers 13 and 14 refer to the Public Safety Committee, Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, and were introduced by Counselor Robinson. Proposal number 13 approves the mayor's appointment of Randall Taylor as the Chief of Police for the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. Proposal number 14 approves the mayor's appointment of Ernest B. Malone as Chief of the Indianapolis Fire Department. Proposal number 15, introduced by Counselor Adamson, referred to the Public Works Committee, approves the mayor's appointment of Dan Parker as the Director of the Department of Public Works. Proposal number 26, introduced by Counselor Osley, referred to the Administration and Finance Committee, approves a transfer of $108,000 in the 2021 budget of the City County Council Consolidated County General Fund to cover the cost of a bilingual constituent services liaison and reflect current health insurance enrollment costs. Proposal numbers 27 and 32 through 34 refer to the Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee and were introduced by Councilor Lewis. Proposal number 27 reappoints Lena Hackett to the Metropolitan Development Commission. Proposal number 32 reappoints Alpha Blackburn to the Metropolitan Development Commission. Proposal number 33 reappoints Mindy Westrick to the Metropolitan Development Commission. Proposal number 34 reappoints William Sim to the Metropolitan Development Commission. Proposal number 35 reappoints Roderick Bohannon to the Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals, Division 1. Proposal number 36 reappoints Mary Kelly to the Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals, Division 2. Proposal number 37 reappoints Mark Young to the Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals, Division 2. Proposal number 38 reappoints Craig Van Dalen to the Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals, Division 3. Proposal number 39 reappoints Janice Golson Dunlap to the Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals, Division 3. Proposal number 40 reappoints Ronald Hampton to the Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals to serve as an alternate. Proposal numbers 41 through 51 refer to the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Proposal number 41, introduced by Councilors Osley and Robinson, appoints Dr. Clyde Posley to the General Orders Board. Proposal number 42, introduced by Councilors Osley and Robinson, appoints Professor Lonnie Silva to the General Orders Board. Proposal numbers 43 through 51 were introduced solely by Councilor Robinson. Proposal number 43 reappoints Gregory Scowers to the Board of Public Health and Safety. Proposal number 44 reappoints Mark Webster to the Board of Public Health and Safety. Proposal number 45 reappoints Elizabeth Filippo. My apologies. Proposal number 45 reappoints Jennifer Norton to the Citizens Police Complaint Board. Proposal number 46 reappoints Elizabeth Filippo to the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team. Proposal number 47 reappoints Alfreda McGinty, I'm sorry, to the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team. Proposal number 48 reappoints Alonzo Anderson to the Juvenile Detention Center Advisory Board. Proposal number 49 reappoints Terry Webster to the Marion County Community Corrections Advisory Board. Proposal number 50 reappoints Brian Toohey to the Marion County Public Defender Board. Proposal number 51 reappoints Robert Hammerly to the Marion County Public Defender Board. Mr. President, that concludes the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is special orders priority business. Proposal numbers 28 through 30, 2021 are rezoning ordinances certified by the Metropolitan Development Commission for adoption by the council. If there are no motions to call any of them down for public hearing, they will pass into law. Are there any motions to call any of these proposals down for public hearing? All right, hearing none, these will pass into law. Proposal number 31, 2021 were certified by the Metropolitan Development Commission for denial by the council. If there are no motions to call this proposal down for public hearing, the denial will stand. Are there any motions? All right, hearing none, the denial will stand. The next item on our agenda is special orders public hearing. Proposal number 1, 2021, slated for introduction this evening, was advanced for action by motion during the adoption of the agenda. Who will be making the presentation this evening?
I will, President Osley.
All right, Deputy Mayor, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President. Sarita, if you'll give me access, I can share my presentation. Madam Clerk, if you can give me access to share the presentation, I've got it on my laptop here.
I got you. I see it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for allowing us to present this to you. Over the last year, we've worked incredibly hard in partnership with the council and in partnership with individual counselor feedback to really be responsive to resident needs and the changing ways in which those presented themselves throughout since the start of the pandemic. Since June, we've come to you all with 3 separate fiscals that were funded in totality by a $168 million allocation we received from the federal government. The first one was $76 million in June, followed by a $16 million fiscal in August, followed by a $76 million fiscal later that year. And that represented the totality of the funds that we received from the federal government. But what we know is that the needs haven't diminished just because those federal funds have run out. So tonight what we're presenting to you is a pared down list representative of the financial realities of the city that seek to address the most critical needs that our community faces. That includes $6 million for rental assistance, $2.5 million for our city's winter contingency program, which address the needs of those experiencing homelessness in our community during those cold weather months. This year, obviously, those needs have shifted as the places in which people normally found shelter are needing to space out more, and the needs for everything from housing to food to wraparound services have shifted due to COVID. Next item within the fiscal is $2 million for non-congregate shelter for high-risk homeless individuals. That is the hotel program that many of you are probably familiar with. $1.9 million for contact tracing. This is a partnership between the city, the Marion County Public Health Department, and IU Fairbanks that we continue to utilize to ensure that we're getting the best data possible when it comes to the spread of the virus. It is $300,000 for food assistance, intended to be sort of a stopgap or bridge for our local entities that are providing food, especially to those in most need. $110,000 for the continuation of our carry-out parking meter program. As you're probably familiar, as you've gone around downtown to pick up food or across the community to pick up food or carry out from your local restaurants. Those are the signs the DPW has so graciously installed. $70,000 for the continuation of our Pathway to Employment program. As you may recall, last year, we expanded that program to ensure that there were additional opportunities for Indianapolis residents, and $36,000 for portable toilets in the downtown area. With that, President Oasley, I'll turn it back to you, and myself and the controller are available for any additional questions.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Are there any comments or questions from councilors? All right, I don't see any or hear any. Madam Clerk, have any comments been received online?
Councilor Hart's hands up, Mr. President.
All right, Councilor Hart, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, and I spoke too soon earlier. I apologize when we were, just bringing this in for this evening to hear it. But one of the things I just, again, want to reiterate, when it comes to, the shelter for high-risk homeless individuals, the first time this came around, I made sure to listen to some of the hotel owners in my area who offered some of the services and, share their names with the city. And, just that there's also other opportunities here in District 18 that are willing to help and are willing to want to, work with the city. And again, I just want to urge the city to reach out to some of those. I also offered up some other organizations that are trying to get in contact. And I just really urge to make that connection because they are good people doing good things and they are real organizations. And, I know we have a strong list of organizations that are really helping a lot of these individuals in need today, but I assure you there are more out there that can continue helping, doing great things. And that's the comment I want to make. So thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Barth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Taylor, just a quick question. My biggest priority and concern has been rental assistance, so I'm glad that's the similar priority for you. What I don't remember is this is essentially a bridge to the next round of fiscal relief that was passed. Am I right in that the most recent federal relief that was passed has a rental assistance component?
It absolutely does. I'll tell you candidly that we're still waiting for additional federal insight into both how much money the city of Indianapolis will receive and what the parameters were that we would like to try to create as direct of a pathway from our existing rental assistance program into those funds for families. But you're absolutely right. That was in the package that was passed, I believe, December 26th of this year.
Okay, so essentially this is giving us a bridge between now and when we get the clarity on federal guidance for how we can spend those most recent relief dollars.
That's absolutely right, Counselor.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Very good. Councilor Renee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to say that I think this is a significant step that the city is taking, a continuation to revitalize the downtown area since COVID-19. And I think, as Councilor Barth said, rental assistance is essential, but so is the seeking shelter for high-risk homeless individuals. And I think the carry-out parking meter costs and things is really helpful to businesses. So I'm very excited and hope that this money gets put to good use because as we head into March, we're going to have a big year here in Indianapolis. And so I just want to thank the mayor's administration and some of the others who have been working on this to do some real-time relief and hopefully get the money to the folks who need it most. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you very much. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your presentation, Deputy Mayor Schaefer. Could you provide a few more details about the non-emergency, the non-congregate shelter, please?
President Osley, if it's okay, I believe that Matt Giffen is on the call. OPHS has been a partner for that program. I think he is probably prepared to speak to that in greater detail than I can.
Okay, very good. Mr. Giffen.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was on mute for quite some time there, so I just wanted to make sure. Thank you, President. To Chairman Robinson's question, this is a continuation of a program that we started last summer, and we're at a hotel near the airport. And the criterion for it are set by Public Health Order number 8 that Dr. Kane issued in May of 2020. And it essentially uses the CDC guidance for people who are at high risk for complications or life-threatening complications from COVID-19. And it's intended to help provide non-congregate safe shelter for people who are both experiencing homelessness and meet one of those medical criteria. So it's in partnership with the Marion County Health Department, as well as a couple of service providers who are on site who are helping provide ancillary services to the people in the shelter facility. We have a project management team as well as a case management team from Aspire Health, which has recently been really ramping up the number of services that are available to the people at the shelter. And I think crucially, we have rapid rehousing money from a separate pot of money from the federal government that is now coming online. And our goal with this is to not only provide a safe place for people to have non-congregate shelter, receive adequate food, keep up with their medical appointments and perform housing navigation, but also ultimately to get as many people as possible who are in this program into more permanent housing solutions so that they've had a bridge through the worst of the COVID pandemic and are also moving on to something better at the other end of all this.
Thank you, Mr. Giffen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is just amazing. For District 16 as well, the rental assistance has been the #1 priority, and we've utilized it a lot. Our second need that we've utilized as well is food assistance. Can you explain a little bit how those funds will work? Will they go out to organizations? For instance, will Gleaners, Second Helpings, community centers be able to apply for those funds? Or can you just explain, like at the 30,000 foot level, how that will work? Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Counselor. I'm actually going to punt it back over to Matt. It's clear that the Office of Public Health and Safety has a really critical role in getting these dollars out the door. So Matt, will you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, no problem. So Councilor Jones, this money would be utilized in a similar way to what we've done in the last year and the last 3 fiscals with the major food relief organizations, the 3 big food banks, Second Helpings, Midwest Food Bank, and Gleaners. And the 2 primary types of projects that we've been trying to help them defray the costs of are, one, a home delivery project, which is primarily Gleaners and Second Helpings in partnership with the Indie Hunger Network, that provides home delivery or delivery to certain pickup sites for people who are at high risk or who have access or transportation issues that are making it difficult for them to access food in the normal way. And then the second stream is what we're calling community partner distributions, which is the bigger food banks making no-cost distributions to smaller entities, community organizations, food pantries, churches, et cetera, so that they can in turn make no-cost distributions to people that are in need in their communities. So our primary goal with this, as it has been in the past, is to defray the really extraordinary surge in costs that the food banks have been facing, both early in the pandemic, especially when the supply cost of food was going up, and throughout the pandemic, and including now when demand has risen quite a bit.
Thank you very much.
Any additional questions from councilors? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments that have been received online regarding proposal number 1, 2021?
No comments.
All right. Is there anyone present in the audience this evening who wishes to offer testimony? All right, seeing no one, I will now call for a motion on proposal number 1, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Very good. It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, will you please proceed with a roll call?
Thank you, Mr. President. Counselor Adamson,
Counselor Adamson, aye.
Counselor Ane,
Counselor Ane, aye.
Counselor Bain,
Counselor Bain, aye.
Counselor Barth,
Barth, aye.
Counselor Boots,
Boots, aye.
Counselor Brown,
Counselor Brown, aye.
Counselor Carlino,
Counselor Carlino, aye.
Counselor Dilk,
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Counselor Ethan Evans, Counselor Ethan Evans,
Counselor Ethan Evans, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans, Counselor Graves,
Counselor Graves, aye.
Counselor Gray,
Counselor Gray, aye.
Counselor Hart,
Counselor Hart, aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Counselor Jones,
Counselor Jones, aye.
Counselor Larison,
Counselor Larison, aye.
Counselor Lewis,
Lewis, aye.
Counselor Mascari,
Mascari, aye.
Counselor McCormick,
McCormick, aye.
Counselor Mowry,
Mallory, aye.
Counselor Oliver, Counselor Osley,
Councilor Osley, aye.
Counselor Potts,
Counselor Potts, aye.
Counselor Ray,
Counselor Ray, aye.
Counselor Robinson.
Counselor Robinson, aye.
Mr. President, we have 23-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There are no items on our agenda under special orders unfinished business. So the next item on our agenda is special orders final adoption. And proposal number 263 referred to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 263, 2020 urges the city of Indianapolis and Marion County to hold a moratorium on the construction of any new jails or similar structures after the completion of the criminal justice campus, and resolves that portion of the funding from Consolidated City of Indianapolis be used for mental health care, fighting homelessness, economic development without displacement, substance addiction, recovery, education initiatives, healthy food access, and youth programming. Councilor Ethan Evans moves, seconded by Councilor Oliver, to amend proposal 263, 2020. Mr. President, and the amended digest reads like this. It urges the city of Indianapolis and Marion County to hold a moratorium on the construction of any new jails or similar structure for at least 40 years after the completion of the criminal justice campus. Councilor Ethan Evans' motion to amend carried by a vote of 13-0. And Councilor Evans moved, seconded by Councilor Carlino, send proposal 263 to the full council with a due pass recommendation as amended. Motion carried by a vote of 9-4, with Councilors Ane, Bain, Dilk, and Mowry cast negative votes. Mr. President, I so move.
Second.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Ethan Evans.
President Osley, just want to first of all thank our co-sponsors and the supporters for this proposal. It's been a long time since the beginning of this proposal, all the way back in last February when it first started, but it's gone through many changes to get to this point. I'm very proud of all the time we've listened and made changes to get here, and I'm very proud of what we've gone to get here, And I'm proud of the message that this proposal here is going to send, to say that we are focusing in the future on a more rehabilitative approach as a city and less punitive, and that we are hoping for a more just and more equitable city in the future, where we can get sentencing reform, where we can get crime reduction through better policies, through a better quality of life on the outside, before people get involved in criminal justice system. So in that regard, this is what I was hoping to bring forward with this proposal for a jail moratorium, to push us into action and getting everything else combined with mental health care, with education, with fighting homelessness, with making sure that substance addiction is treated fairly and equally across the board, with making sure that we have all the resources for everyone who needs it in this city. So that is why I fought very hard for this proposal to get here. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Evans. Any additional comments from councilors? Councilor Graves?
Thanks, Mr. President. I just want to take a few moments and just commend my colleague Councilor Evans for this heavy lifting on this. He mentioned it has been in the works for quite a while to make this open and acceptable to so many that would have a say-so in something so monumental. But I want to just remind members of the council on both sides of the aisle that it's that kind of leadership that is needed. It's not only needed, it's actually demanded. It's expected, out of the box thinking, to come up with solutions that have plagued our city for so many years, decades even. We're here, we have to step up and come up with ideas, work on items that may take a year or more to find the change that we will need to make our city a better place for all of the citizens. I want to say thank you to Councilor Evans and everyone else that helped him out on this, and ask that everyone continue to come up with such ideas. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. All right, if there are no additional comments, I see. Councilor Boots.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a brief comment on one. Want to express my deep appreciation to Councilor Ethan Evans for his dogged pursuit of this topic. Oftentimes, in the face of all odds, he had a vision that he believed in. He convinced others of its validity, and here we are tonight, hopefully passing it. And I wanted to just give my shout out for the validity of the principle of why initially people attacked this as being a pie in the sky aspiration. I think the exact opposite. 40 years is because we're paying for the current jail for 40 years. Unlike in years past, when we're paying for multi-million dollar, hundreds of millions of dollars of city venues that are now dust piles and piles of bricks. So we're paying for things that have long been destroyed and rebuilt. I like this proposal very much because it makes us pause and appreciate that. Are we going to spend additional money when we're spending money on our current plans for 40 years? So I just think that's worth clarifying and emphasizing that that's where the 40 years really comes from. Hopefully by the end of that term, our current bonds for the current criminal justice center will be paid off and we can move on. So I urge my fellow councilors to approve this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Booth. Any additional comments from councilors? Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, and I respect everything that Councilor Evans went through when working on this proposal. We actually shared ideas, you know, back and forth. And I believe in the sentiment of trying to rehabilitate people more than putting them in jails. And we need to find solutions on that. We need to find, you know, solutions on how we build financial stability in our city. We need to find ways to provide home ownership. There's many things we need to do that really cause this, to find the root of how we build communities and grow Indianapolis to be a better, brighter city. You know, Councilor Evans, you put in tireless amount of work with this, and you know, I congratulate you for that. For anybody watching at home, I just, you know, want you to remember that there are different types of resolutions. So this one is a special resolution, which is a big urge to the city to try and follow these types of methodologies and procedures going forward, and kind of put them and everybody in the mindset moving forward. So unfortunately, this doesn't bind us to anything, but it does kind of put us in a mindset to help, you know, look strategically and have a strategic vision over a time period, and really think about what we're doing when we're working on our project. So thank you, Councilor Evans, for putting so much work and dedication into this.
All right, thank you, Councilor Hart. Additional comments from councilors? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, would you do a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Adamson,
Counselor Adamson, aye.
Councilor Ane,
Councilor Ane, I'm a nay, but I do want to say that I really sincerely appreciate Councilor Ethan Evans and did appreciate the conversations that were entailed during this discussion.
thank you. Councilor Bain,
Councilor Bain, nay.
Councilor Barth,
Barth, aye.
Councilor Boots,
Boots, aye.
Councilor Brown,
Counselor Brown, nay.
Councilor Carlino,
Counselor Carlino, aye.
Councilor Dilk,
Councilor Dilk, nay.
Councilor Ethan Evans,
Counselor Ethan Evans, aye.
Councilor Jared Evans, Councilor Graves,
Councilor Graves, aye.
Councilor Gray,
Councilor Gray, aye.
Councilor Hart,
You know, unfortunately, just that, you know, the conversations I had strayed too far from what I was comfortable with, and I'm a nay.
thank you. Councilor Jackson,
Councilor Jackson, aye.
Councilor Jones,
Counselor Jones, aye.
Councilor Larison,
Counselor Larison, aye.
Councilor Lewis,
Lewis, aye.
Councilor Mascari,
Councilor Mascari, aye.
Councilor McCormick,
Sorry about that. McCormick, aye.
Councilor Mowry,
Councilor Mallory, nay.
Councilor Oliver, Councilor Osili,
Councilor Osili, aye.
Councilor Potts,
Councilor Potts, aye.
Councilor Ray,
Counselor Ray, nay.
Councilor Robinson.
Councilor Robinson, aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 16 aye, 7 nay.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 337, referred to Community Affairs Committee. Chairwoman Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 337 in Community Affairs amends Chapter 202, Article 7 of the Code regarding the Office of Public Health and Safety. It passed out of committee of a due pass 8-0. And it is for the Division of Community Nutrition and Food Policy for the responsible addressing racial equity in the food system, creating an inclusive mechanism to launch and coordinate food policy and programs reducing food insecurities, in Indianapolis and improving equitable access to healthy food with a focus on food deserts in low-income areas. There was a lot of dialogue that went back and forth on this. Proposal was vetted through a town hall in November. It was also vetted with a lot of questions through the committee at the December meeting. And there was public testimony as well. There were public-private partnerships. The mayor's administration from Office of Public Health and Safety also had a lot of input on the commission study part of this as well. And Councilor Addison moved, and it was seconded by Councilor Booth to send proposal number 337, 2020 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 9-0. And Mr. President, I so move.
Second.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, this was a very lengthy proposal, and I know it has very good intentions, and the proposal is in very good faith. You know, in this case, though, I spent many hours doing research, talking with council, with food service providers, with OPHS, and you know, at this point, I'm going to have to oppose the proposal that increases government administration and adds duplicative efforts at the citizens' tax dollars expense. When the city is so blessed to have the Indy Hunger Network continually making improvements to end the food gap in Marion County. The Indy Food Hunger Network is a highly effective, strongly supported network of organizations, a nationally recognized best-in-class organization that does not require the city of Indianapolis to come in and duplicate their strategic direction. This proposal promotes, through the created OPHS division, coalition, and commission, clearly duplicative efforts. And the Indy Hunger Network has completed and has continually delivered successful projects to show their success. You know, those projects are things such as SNAP outreach coordination, mapping services locations for WIC clinics and food pantries and meal services. And all this is done through their Community Compass application that's free for anybody in Indianapolis to use. You know, they've implemented FreshBucks and cooking and nutrition education. You know, furthermore, right? I mean, my support was lost when the coalition created by this proposal clears the city of Indianapolis from any responsibility and requires taxpayers to fund it. You know, I just really want to stress, I do believe that the intentions of this proposal are done in really good faith. You know, but just after careful review and conversations again with the service providers, legal counsel, food service providers, and the proposal just inflates the city's administration size and creates duplicative efforts in a vacuum. And I really trust the Indy Hunger Network's work and that they will positively promote their successful initiatives. And I've made arrangements to meet with a board member periodically to exchange updates on closing Marion County's food and meal gap. And one thing this council should be focused on is resolving issues for all citizens. You know, one of my fellow councilors told me, a rising tide raises all ships. So let us be that rising tide in Indianapolis, because all people deserve access to affordable, healthy food. And with that, I yield the floor, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes, thank you for your comments, Councilor Hart. A couple of corrections. The Office of Public Health and Safety paid for that food compass on that. And also, I would also like to bring Kate Howe on the line. What we want to do, Indy Food Network has done some great work. The challenge is not with them, where this is not a proposal being competition with them or any other great organizations that have done awesome work to address the food insecurities and lack of food access in our city and our county. What we want to do is create an opportunity to come together and unify in one direction and work cohesively with a co-mission and work collaboratively together to reduce because I don't think one agency can do it alone. However, in the leadership underneath the city, if we do that, with us as a city taking some stance and some, if we get out there in the forefront, that we can reduce some of the food access and gaps that we have and not put it on the onus of one entity. As if you notice, we still have food deserts in our city. We still have food gaps in our city, namely in my district 14. I don't know if you know, I don't have any grocery stores, if you don't know that. So obviously, Indy Food Network cannot do it alone. This is an opportunity for us to come together collectively, to be aggressive, to be unified in the efforts in those areas that are underserved, those areas that are in Black and brown communities, low income communities that are food gaps, and not just put it on one entity, but for us to join forces to collectively work together. And if Ms. Kate is on the line, if she wants to speak to say something at this point, I think maybe she has a statement.
Thank you, Councilor Jackson. I'm here and would love to make some comments if that's okay.
Thank you so much. We'd love to have you.
Welcome, Ms. Howell. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you to Councilor Hart for your praise of the Indie Hunger Network's work. We appreciate your notice of what we're doing in the city and the opportunity to participate in this conversation. As Councilor Hart said, Indie Hunger Network has been working hard for 11 years in our city to address the issue of food insecurity. And for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are a coalition of hunger relief organizations. So we represent and are made up of Gleaners Food Bank, Midwest Food Bank, Second Helpings, SACOA, Meals on Wheels, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, the Society of St. Andrew, the Patachou Foundation, and Grace Care Center, which is in Noblesville. And we're all working together to address food insecurity collectively through advocacy, through project work, and through collaboration. And I would just like to say that Indie Hunger Network is in support of Prop 337. We are doing a lot of good work on the food insecurity side, but the part that we don't do is the retail food, the food desert stuff. So trying to support retail businesses in areas that don't have a retail grocer. We don't really work on that because we see it as related but separate from food insecurity. It's more of a food access issue. And so after speaking with Malala Kennedy and Matt Giffen in the Office of Public Health and Safety, I see this proposed new structure as complementary to the Indie Hunger Network, and I look forward to the opportunity to work closely with the new Community Food Access Coalition and Advisory Commission should this measure pass.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Howell.
Thank you for your comment, Ms. Howell.
All right. All right, Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I really respect, everybody's opinion and everybody on this call is, Kate and Councilor Jackson. But, where I really get lost in this proposal is where there is, and without any direct control by the city or the Office of Public Safety for this coalition. And when the city starts to pick and choose organizations to be in the city's purview, but the city not having a responsibility for them, we're not making the right decisions on how we're going to get to that end result, because ultimately the city's not responsible. So how can you have a vested interest in an initiative if you have no responsibility in it? And that's where I can't find peace with this proposal.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Any additional comments from fellow councillors? Councillor Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to commend Chairwoman Jackson and the work that she has done. I know food security is an issue across the city of Indianapolis and Marion County. I know District 6, we have one grocery store. So you are not alone. I know with consent from the chairwoman, I would love to be a co-sponsor on proposal number 337.
Definitely. Thank you, Councilor Carlino. Appreciate that.
Let me know how I can help you, Madam Chairwoman, and I yield back, President Oakley.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments from council?
Mr. President,
Just a moment, Chairwoman. I think we had a comment from Vice President Adamson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I want to commend Chairwoman Jackson also. I think one of the important things, and we discussed this during the committee process, and it is not because we single out particular individuals in these proposals because they will be receiving disproportionate attention in these particular issues, but because they warrant identifying that they have been disproportionately neglected over the years. I think I guess the common thread that we've seen throughout the most recent, in the past year or so, is when we say things like Black Lives Matter and responses come back that all lives matter, there is the assumption that at some point we mentioned that only Black lives matter. That was not the point at all. So this proposal, while it does point out the discrepancies and the shortfallings of our community to address the needs of all our community members, so that's why it warrants bringing them up in the proposal itself. So I commend Chairwoman Jackson for her efforts on this, and I look forward to supporting it. And obviously, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor as well.
Good. Thank you, Vice President. Chairwoman, I think you had a comment.
yes, as Matt would like to speak, or have any comments to the funding or plans of funding at this time?
Is that Mr. Giffen?
Yes, Mr. Giffen.
Hi. Yes, I just wanted to say that on behalf of OPHS and Malele Kennedy, our food program and policy coordinator, I want to say that we strongly support Proposal 337. I think it accomplishes three important goals. As has been talked about, acknowledging the importance of food equity as a goal to be addressed by our office and by the community as a whole, emphasizing the role of OPHS's new division, which will be called the Community Nutrition and Food Policy Division, and leading the system's efforts and the city's efforts to fight food insecurity and promote food access. And as Kate Howe said, food insecurity and food access, while they're related, are separate, distinguishable issues, and I think they require perhaps different strategies, different menus of policies to deal with. And finally, because this proposal addresses the need to include voices from all the stakeholders in the food system, and that includes retailers and growers and community activists, as well as the food banks and food pantries and other people that are working in the food insecurity field. With respect to your question about funding, this proposal does not include new city funding. What it does do is acknowledges and elevates the role of what used to be called the Indy Food Council, which is a separate organization and is now going to be called the Community Food Access Coalition. And it recognizes OPHS's relationship with that entity and directs OPHS as part of its annual food budget of approximately $500,000 to provide appropriate levels of support to the Food Access Coalition's work as part of a holistic strategy to address food insecurity and food access and food equity. So it's not appropriating new money to OPHS, it's not costing new money, but what it is doing is recognizing that supporting this entity should be a priority of OPHS going forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Giffen. Are there any questions or comments from council members? Councilor Graves.
Sorry, Mr. President, I was not trying to get your attention.
Okay, very good. Councilor Boots.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the Community Affairs Committee and was quite impressed with the presentation and the work that has gone into this proposal. And if I'm not already a co-sponsor, I would definitely like to be identified as one and encourage my fellow councilors to approve it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Boots. Any additional comments from council? Chairwoman Jackson?
One final one. This is addressing something that was said, and the difference is that was leadership as council that this proposal does. It allows us the opportunity to create policy, something that is needed very badly for our city to make changes in the directions to address those gaps as far as access when it comes to the retailer capital of addressing lack of food access and insecurity in our city and our county. I don't know where we are now, but pre-COVID, I don't know if you know, Indiana was #1 in the country. And we should, I don't know, out of all states, out of cities, why are we? And I don't know for you, but sitting on this council, that did not sit well for me. So thank you, Ms. Howell, again. We want to definitely partner, work in tandem, and this is not to replace any of the work that any of the organizations or individuals have done in this area, but to definitely work together to resolve this issue. We have an issue that is bigger than us as groups and as leaders and individuals. We have people that have lack of access to affordable fresh fruits, foods, and our priorities should be that, and not of who's getting credit or who's doing what, but working together to resolve the issue in our city that we've been deemed #1 in a problem in this country. And that's the bigger problem for me, for this counselor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you all. I will now ask for a roll call vote from Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Counselor Adamson.
Counselor Adamson, aye.
Thank you. Counselor Ane.
Ane, aye.
Counselor Bain.
Counselor Bain, aye.
Counselor Barth.
Barth, aye.
Counselor Boots.
Boots, aye.
Counselor Brown.
Brown, aye.
Counselor Carlino.
Counselor Carlino, aye.
Counselor Dilk.
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Counselor Ethan Evans.
Counselor Ethan Evans, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans. Counselor Graves.
Counselor Graves, aye.
Counselor Gray.
Counselor Gray, aye.
Counselor Hart.
Counselor Hart, the devils are in the details. The details are in the we don't need more government. I'm a nay.
Counselor Jackson.
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Counselor Jones.
Counselor Jones, aye.
Counselor Larison.
Counselor Larison, aye.
Counselor Lewis.
Counselor Lewis, aye.
Counselor Mascari.
Counselor Mascari, aye.
Counselor McCormick.
Hi, Counselor McCormick, aye. And please add me as co-sponsor as well.
Thank you. Counselor Mowry.
Counselor Mallory, aye.
Counselor Oliver. Counselor Osley.
Councilor Osili, aye.
Counselor Potts.
Counselor Potts, aye.
Counselor Ray. Counselor Ray. Counselor Robinson.
Counselor Robinson, aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 21 aye, 1 nay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 361, referred to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 361, 2020, amends Chapter 202, Article 8 of the Code regarding Citizens Police Complaint Board. General Counsel Kim stated that Proposal 361 amends the code. The chief may approve an alternative training requirement for voting members at his or her discretion when situations arise. General Counsel Kim said that the need for this would occur in types of emergencies like the current COVID-19 pandemic. Councilor Barth moved, seconded by Councilor Booth, to send Proposal 361 to the full council. The do pass recommendation. Motion carried by a vote of 13-0. Mr. President, I so move.
Second.
A motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Very good. Seeing none, we will now proceed to roll call for a vote. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Counselor Adamson,
Counselor Adamson, aye.
Counselor Arnay,
Arnay, aye.
Counselor Bain,
Counselor Bain, aye.
Counselor Barth,
Barth, aye.
Counselor Boots,
Boots, aye.
Counselor Brown,
Brown, aye.
Counselor Carlino,
Counselor Carlino, aye.
Counselor Dilk,
Counselor Dilk, aye.
Counselor Ethan Evans,
Counselor Ethan Evans, aye.
Counselor Jared Evans, Counselor Graves,
Counselor Graves, aye.
Counselor Gray,
Counselor Gray, aye.
Counselor Hart,
Counselor Hart, aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Counselor Jackson, aye.
Counselor Jones,
Counselor Jones, aye.
Counselor Larison,
Counselor Larison, aye.
Counselor Lewis,
Counselor Lewis, aye.
Counselor Mascari,
Counselor Mascari, aye.
Counselor McCormick,
McCormick, aye.
Counselor Mowry,
Counselor Mallory, aye.
Counselor Oliver, Counselor Osily,
Counselor Osili, aye.
Counselor Potts,
Counselor Potts, aye.
Counselor Ray, Counselor Robinson,
Counselor Robinson, aye.
Mr. President, I have 22 ayes, 0.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. There is no business under Special Service District Councils. There is no business under new business. So the next item on our agenda is announcements and adjournment. The docketed agenda for this meeting of council having been completed, the chair will now entertain motions for adjournment.
Mr. President,
Chair recognizes Counselor Mowry.
Mr. President, I have been asked to offer the following motion for adjournment. By Counselor Mallory. In memory of Walter George Gordon Sr. By Counselor Evans, in memory of Ken Duggins, Joyce Garner, Susan L. Borer, Ruth Ann Waterfill, and Brenda Walden. By Counselor Osley, in memory of Anya Seymour, Wayne Bell, Kevin Michael Carr, Janine Chandler, and Theodore Brian Craig. By Counselor Boots, in memory of Patricia Power. By Counselor Nay, in the memory of Carol Sue Collins, Henrietta Ashby, June Dagley, Ron E. Opal, and Linda R. Lucchini. Mr. President, I would like to move the adjournment of this meeting of the Indianapolis City County Council in recognition of and respect for the life and the contributions of those persons I have here specifically named. I respectfully ask that the support of fellow councilors. I further request that the motion be made part of the permanent records of this body and that a letter bearing the council's seal and signature of the president be sent to the family of each person advising of this action.
Thank you, Counselor Mowry. Hearing no objections, the motion is received. The request is so ordered. Hearing no further motions, we are adjourned. Have a good evening, councilors. Thank you.